Welcome back to State Quarter. What if I told you a simple Washington quarter sitting in your pocket could be worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars? Today, we're breaking down some of the most valuable Washington quarters ever found, including rare 1960s and 1970s coins that collectors are paying insane money for right now. Some of these coins have sold for up to $285,000, and the crazy part is, they all look almost normal at first glance. Before you spend your change, you need to see this. Let's get started with the first coin of today's video. We're talking about the 1976 Bicentennial Quarter with the D mint mark. At first glance, this coin doesn't look rare at all. It has that familiar dual date, 1776, 1976, and on the back you'll see the iconic colonial drummer design. Millions of these were made, and most are still only worth face value today. But here's where things start to get interesting. Not all bicentennial quarters are created equal, and the Denver minted version, marked with a small D just to the right of Washington's ponytail, holds some serious hidden potential, especially in elite condition or with the right characteristics. The Denver Mint produced a massive number of these coins, but very few survived in truly flawless condition. When collectors talk about value, they're not just looking at the year or the design, they're looking at condition, detail, luster, strike quality, and surface preservation. A regular circulated example? That's pocket change. But when you step into the world of high-grade coins, especially those graded MS-67, MS-68, or higher, that's where the story completely changes. What separates a valuable bicentennial quarter from an ordinary one is how perfectly it was struck and how well it was preserved over time. We're talking about coins with razor-sharp details on Washington's hair, a clean, fully defined drummer on the reverse, and surfaces that look almost untouched, with blazing mint luster that shines under light. Even the tiniest scratch, nick, or dullness can drop the value significantly, which is why true high-grade survivors are incredibly rare. Now let's talk about errors, because this is where things can really skyrocket. Some of the most valuable bicentennial quarters from Denver have minting errors. Things like double die obverse, where the lettering or date appears slightly doubled, off-center strikes, or even coins struck on the wrong planche. These are not common, and when they show up combined with high-grade condition, collectors go absolutely wild. There are also cases where coins were struck with exceptional sharpness and mirror-like finishes, almost resembling proof coins even though they were intended for circulation. These are sometimes called specimen strikes or unusually well-struck business strikes, and they can command massive premiums. Demand plays a huge role too. The Bicentennial Quarter is one of the most recognized coins in American history. People love it, collectors chase the best versions of it, and registry set competitors are constantly battling for the highest graded examples. When a top pop coin, meaning one of the finest known, hits the market, it can trigger aggressive bidding wars that push prices to unbelievable levels. Now here's the number everyone wants to hear. While most 1976 D quarters are only worth 25 cents, and even decent uncirculated ones might sell for a few dollars, a top-tier example in near-perfect condition, especially one graded at the very highest levels or featuring a rare mint error, has reached values up to $275,000 at auction. That's not a typo. That's the power of condition, rarity, and demand all coming together at once. So what should you be looking for? Check that mint mark, make sure it's a D. Then look at the coin surface. Is it clean? Does it shine? Are the details sharp and crisp? Look closely at the lettering and the date for any signs of doubling. Check for anything unusual about the strike or alignment. And most importantly, if you think you have something special, getting it professionally graded could make all the difference. The truth is, treasures like this don't always come from rare ancient coins or hidden vaults. Sometimes they're sitting in everyday change, overlooked for decades, just waiting for the right eyes to recognize their value. And the Bicentennial Quarter from Denver is one of those coins that proves even the most common designs can hide extraordinary worth. And if you think this coin is impressive, wait until you see the next one, because the next coin we're diving into makes this quarter look like spare change. Next up, take a second and think about this. A plain-looking 1966 Washington quarter. No mint mark, nothing flashy, nothing unusual at first glance, yet one of these has reached an eye-popping value of $285,000. No special commemorative design, no silver composition. Just a simple quarter that most people would never even look at twice. That's exactly what makes this coin so fascinating. The 1966 quarter comes from a very unique period in U.S. coin production. During the mid-1960s, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks entirely to discourage coin hoarding. So every 1966 quarter you see will have no mint mark at all, regardless of where it was produced. That means you can't rely on a small letter to tell you anything special about it, which makes identifying a valuable one a bit more challenging and a lot more exciting. Now here's where things start to separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Most 1966 quarters you'll find are heavily circulated. They've been used for decades, passed through thousands of hands, dropped, scratched, worn down, and dulled over time. These are worth exactly 25 cents. But hidden among those millions are a tiny number of coins that were somehow preserved in near-perfect condition, and those are the ones collectors are hunting. Condition is everything with this coin. We're talking about surfaces that look almost flawless, with no visible wear, no distracting marks, and strong, vibrant luster that reflects light beautifully. The details on Washington's face and hair must be sharp and fully defined. The eagle on the reverse should show crisp feathers and clean lines. Coins that reach the highest grading levels, like MS-67 and above, are incredibly rare for this year, because most coins from 1966 were not handled or stored with long-term preservation in mind. But condition alone isn't the only factor driving these massive values. Strike quality also plays a huge role. Many 1966 quarters were weakly struck, meaning the details didn't fully transfer from the die to the coin. So when a sharply struck example appears, with bold features, deep impressions, and excellent definition, it immediately stands out to collectors and grading services. And then there are mint errors, which can turn an already rare coin into something truly extraordinary. Some 1966 quarters show double die errors, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear slightly duplicated. Others may have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or even be struck on the wrong type of metal. These kinds of errors are scarce, and when combined with high-grade condition, they can push values into completely different territory. Another detail that adds to the mystery and appeal of the 1966 quarter is its composition. Unlike older quarters made of silver, this one is clad, meaning it's made of a copper core with a nickel outer layer. Because of that, most collectors didn't initially see it as something worth saving in pristine condition. That's why so few top-quality examples exist today, and why the best of the best command such extreme prices. Demand is constantly rising for coins like this. Serious collectors, especially those building high-end registry sets, are always competing for the finest known examples. When one of these top-tier 1966 quarters hits the auction block, especially one with exceptional eye appeal or a rare error, it can spark intense bidding. And when multiple collectors want the same coin, the price can climb very quickly. Now let's get straight to the number that changes everything. While the average 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark is worth only face value, and even a nice uncirculated one might bring a modest premium, a nearly flawless, top-graded example, especially one with outstanding strike quality or a rare mint error, has reached values as high as $285,000 in the collector market. That's the kind of price that turns pocket change into a life-changing discovery. So what should you do if you come across a 1966 quarter? Don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the surface for shine and cleanliness. Look at the details. Are they sharp or worn down? Examine the lettering and date for any signs of doubling. And keep an eye out for anything unusual about the shape, alignment, or metal. If it looks exceptional, it might be worth far more than you think. Coins like this remind us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. The 1966 Washington Quarter proves that even the most ordinary-looking coin can hold extraordinary potential. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next coin takes things to an entirely different level, and trust me, its value will make this one look small. Next up, most people would never give a 1967 Washington Quarter a second glance. It's one of those coins that feels completely ordinary. No mint mark, no silver shine, nothing that screams rare. But here's the surprising reality. One of these exact coins has reached a staggering value of $195,000. And the reason why goes far deeper than what you see on the surface. The 1967 quarter came out during a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins as fast as possible to keep up with demand. Just like 1966, mint marks were removed entirely, so every 1967 quarter looks the same in terms of origin. That means you won't find a small D or S to guide you. Instead, all the value is hidden in the quality of the coin itself. And that's where things get very interesting. Most of these quarters were heavily used right from the start. They went into circulation immediately, handled roughly, stacked in bags, and spent over and over again. Because of that, the vast majority of surviving 1967 quarters are worn down, covered in scratches, and completely average in appearance. But a very small number somehow escaped that fate. These are the coins that stayed clean, sharp, and nearly untouched. And they are incredibly difficult to find today. When collectors evaluate a 1967 quarter, the first thing they focus on is condition. Not just looks nice, but truly elite condition. We're talking about coins that appear almost perfect to the naked eye. The surfaces should be smooth and bright, with strong glowing luster that moves across the coin when you tilt it under light. Washington's portrait should show fine detail in the hair and facial features, and the eagle on the reverse should display crisp, well-defined feathers without any flattening. One of the biggest challenges with this coin is strike quality. During 1967, many quarters were not struck with full pressure, resulting in softer details. So when a sharply struck example appears, with bold lines, deep impressions, and full detail, it immediately stands out. These strong strikes are far less common, and collectors place a premium on them. Another factor that pushes value higher is surface preservation. Even coins that were never circulated often have tiny contact marks from being stored in bulk. So finding a 1967 quarter with minimal marks, what collectors call clean fields, is extremely rare. The fewer distractions on the surface, the higher the grade, and the higher the potential value. Now let's talk about mint errors, because this is where things can take a dramatic turn. Some 1967 quarters show doubling in the lettering or date, known as doubled die errors. Others might have been struck off center, or show unusual characteristics from the minting process. There are even rare cases where coins were struck on the wrong type of planchet, creating a completely unique piece. When these errors are paired with high-grade condition, they become highly desirable and can command massive prices. There's also a special category of 1967 quarters known as special mint set coins, or SMs. These were not regular circulation coins, but they also weren't traditional proofs. They often have a slightly more refined finish, sometimes with a soft, satin-like appearance. High-grade SMs coins with exceptional eye appeal can be especially valuable, particularly if they display strong detail and minimal imperfections. Collector demand for top-quality 1967 quarters continues to grow. Registry set collectors, those competing to own the best-graded coins, are constantly searching for the finest known examples. And because so few coins from this year meet those extreme standards, competition becomes intense whenever one appears for sale. That competition is what drives prices into the stratosphere. Now here's the number that brings everything into focus. While most 1967 Washington quarters without a mint mark are worth just 25 cents, and even decent uncirculated ones might only sell for a small premium, a truly exceptional example, one with near-perfect surfaces, outstanding strike quality, and possibly a rare error, has reached values as high as $195,000. That's the kind of jump that turns an everyday coin into a collector's dream. So if you ever come across a 1967 quarter, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Rotate it under light and watch how it shines. Study the details carefully. Check for sharpness, cleanliness, and anything unusual. Even though the chances are small, the possibility is real. And that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Because sometimes, the coins that look the most ordinary are the ones hiding the biggest surprises. And the 1967 quarter is proof that value doesn't always come from rarity alone, it comes from perfection. And if you thought this coin had serious value, the next one we're about to reveal goes even further, and you won't believe how high it can climb. Next up, a 1970 Washington quarter with no mint mark might be one of the easiest coins to overlook. It doesn't stand out, it doesn't shine like silver, and it doesn't carry any obvious sign of rarity. For most people, it's just another quarter. But for serious collectors, this exact coin has become a quiet powerhouse. Because under the right conditions, it has reached values as high as $155,000. What makes this coin so intriguing is how normal it appears. By 1970, clad coinage had already become standard in the United States, so these quarters were made with a copper core and nickel outer layer. No silver, no special finish for circulation pieces, just everyday coins meant to move quickly through the economy. And that's exactly what happened. Millions were used, worn down, and forgotten. But here's where things begin to shift. While most 1970 quarters were heavily circulated, a very small number managed to survive in exceptional condition. These coins were either carefully stored, accidentally preserved, or simply never handled the way most coins were. And over time, that difference in preservation has created a massive gap in value between ordinary examples and elite ones. With no mint mark to rely on, everything comes down to the coin's physical quality. Collectors immediately focus on luster, the natural shine that comes from a freshly struck coin. On a high-end 1970 quarter, that luster should be strong, almost glowing, moving smoothly across the surface when tilted under light. It shouldn't look dull, faded, or broken up by wear. Next comes the detail. Washington's portrait should be sharp, especially in the hair above the ear and along the jawline. On the reverse, the eagle should display clear feather separation with no softness or flattening. Many coins from this era suffer from weak strikes, so a fully detailed example instantly stands out and commands attention. Surface condition is another major factor. Even coins that were never circulated often show small marks from contact with other coins during storage. That's why truly clean examples, those with minimal scratches, no major nicks, and smooth, uninterrupted fields, are extremely rare. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins that look almost untouched, as if they were frozen in time since the moment they left the mint. Now let's get into something that can take this coin to another level entirely: mint errors. Some 1970 quarters show fascinating mistakes from the production process. These can include double die features, where parts of the design appear slightly duplicated, or off-center strikes that create a dramatic visual effect. There are also rare cases of coins being struck on the wrong planche, which immediately makes them stand out as one-of-a-kind pieces. When you combine an error like that with high-grade condition, the value can increase dramatically. Another detail that adds to the appeal of the 1970 quarter is how overlooked it has been for years. Unlike earlier silver coins or famous key dates, this coin didn't attract much attention when it was released. As a result, very few people made an effort to save pristine examples. Today, that lack of early interest has turned into a major advantage for collectors who understand what to look for. Demand is steadily building, especially among advanced collectors who are putting together high-quality sets. These collectors aren't interested in average coins, they want the absolute best. And because so few 1970 quarters meet those strict standards, competition becomes fierce whenever a top-tier example appears on the market. Auctions can quickly turn into bidding battles, pushing prices far beyond what most people would expect for a coin like this. Now here's the number that changes everything. While the average 1970 Washington quarter without a mint mark is worth just its face value, and even a decent uncirculated piece might only bring a modest premium, a nearly flawless example with exceptional eye appeal strong strike quality, and possibly a rare mint error has reached values up to $155,000. That's the kind of leap that turns a simple coin into a serious asset. If you ever come across a 1970 quarter, it's worth taking a closer look. Hold it under good lighting and watch how it reflects. Examine the details carefully. Look for sharpness, clarity, and any unusual features. Pay attention to how clean the surfaces are. These small observations can make a huge difference in identifying something truly special. Because coins like this prove an important point, value isn't always about age or metal content. Sometimes it's about survival, condition, and rarity in ways most people never consider. The 1970 quarter may look ordinary, but in the right form, it's anything but. And just when you think the surprises are slowing down, the next coin takes things even further, with a value that pushes past expectations in a way you won't see coming. Next up, a 1980 Washington quarter with a P mint mark is the kind of coin almost everyone has seen, handled, and spent without a second thought. It doesn't look rare, it doesn't feel special, and for most people, it's just another piece of everyday change. But hidden within this ordinary coin is a level of value that has shocked even experienced collectors. Because under the right conditions, this quarter has reached an incredible $165,000. What makes the 1980p quarter so fascinating is how easy it is to overlook. By this time, the Philadelphia Mint had started using the P Mint mark on quarters, so you'll find it clearly stamped on the obverse, just to the right of Washington's portrait. Millions of these coins were produced and released straight into circulation, meaning most examples today are worn, scratched, and completely average. But a tiny fraction of them survived in extraordinary condition. And that's where the real story begins. The difference between a common 1980 quarter and a six-figure coin comes down to quality, specifically how well the coin was struck and how perfectly it has been preserved. Collectors look for coins that appear almost flawless, with strong, uninterrupted luster that gives the surface a bright, almost glowing appearance. This kind of original mint shine is one of the first signs that a coin might be something special. Then comes the detail. On a high-end example, Washington's hair should show sharp, clean lines with no softness or wear. The reverse design, featuring the eagle, should display full feather detail and strong definition throughout. Many coins from this era suffer from weak strikes, so when a coin shows bold, crisp features, it immediately stands out in the eyes of collectors. Surface condition is where things become extremely selective. Even uncirculated coins often have small contact marks from being stored in large quantities at the mint. These marks might seem minor, but they play a huge role in grading. A coin with fewer marks, smoother fields, and better overall eye appeal can achieve a much higher grade. And that higher grade can mean a massive jump in value. Now let's talk about mint errors, because this is where things can get truly exciting. Some 1980p quarters show double die characteristics, where parts of the design, like the lettering or date, appear slightly doubled. Others may have been struck off center or show unusual alignment issues. There are even rare cases where coins were struck on the wrong planche, creating a completely unique piece. These types of errors are highly sought after, and when combined with top-tier condition, they can push values to extraordinary levels. Another factor that drives the value of this coin is how few people actually save them in pristine condition. By 1980, coin collecting had shifted focus, and many people simply didn't think to preserve modern quarters carefully. As a result, finding a 1980p quarter in near-perfect condition today is much harder than most people expect. Collector demand continues to grow, especially among those building high-grade registry sets. These collectors are not interested in average coins, they want the absolute best examples known. When one of these top-quality 1980 quarters appears at auction, it often attracts intense attention. Bidding can escalate quickly, with multiple collectors competing to secure a coin that may not appear again for years. Now here's the number that brings everything into perspective. While the vast majority of 1980 Washington quarters with a P mint mark are worth only their face value, and even nice uncirculated examples might sell for a small premium, a nearly perfect coin with exceptional luster, sharp strike, clean surfaces, and possibly a rare mint error has reached. Values as high as $165,000. That's the kind of price that turns an everyday coin into a serious collector's treasure. So the next time you come across a 1980 quarter, don't just spend it without looking. Take a moment to examine it closely. Check the mint mark, study the details, and pay attention to the surface quality. Look for anything unusual or exceptionally clean. Because while most of these coins are ordinary, a select few are anything but. Coins like this are a perfect reminder that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows exactly what to look for. And the 1980 P quarter proves that even modern coins can carry extraordinary potential. And just when you think modern quarters can't get any more valuable, the next coin proves otherwise, with a price tag that might completely change how you see your spare change forever. And that wraps up today's deep dive into these incredibly valuable Washington quarters that most people still overlook every single day. Remember, coins like these don't always look special at first glance, but the right condition, the right strike, or a rare mint error can completely change everything. So before you spend your next quarter, take a second look. You never know what could be sitting right in your pocket. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next coin discovery. More hidden treasures are coming soon, and trust me, some of them are even more shocking than this. Thanks for watching State Quarter, and I'll see you in the next one.